Hello and welcome to my video about reading journals and how a reading journal can nurture your creative health and improve your cognitive health and potentially spark connections and conversations. So in this video, I'll be talking about reading journals, what it is, examples of my own, and why they're incredible for nurturing your creative and cognitive health. At the end, I'll be sharing 5 simple prompts that you can adopt for your own reading journal. And I'm going to go ahead and read from this week's journal entry from our Saturday reading room, which is my weekly series on Saturdays where we get together to create a slow reading habit. If you haven't visited the Saturday reading room yet, I'll link in the box below to the first video. Okay, so first off, reading on its own has so many incredible benefits for our cognitive health. It prevents long-term decline, it stimulates the brain, and lights up our imagination to read. Journaling, taking the time to make even notes about what you're reading or a more structured practice, as I'm going to be providing some prompts, is a great way to take time and ponder and critically think about what you've just read. And it's really just the icing on the cake, the cherry on the sundae. I don't even know how many more analogies I can come up with to say that it's just yummy. And it doesn't need to take a long time. This is maybe 5-10 minutes. As I said, I put together 5 prompts. And while you don't have to be restricted to 5 or 10 minutes, the last one I did actually took me, I probably spent like 20 minutes on it. The 5 to 10 minutes that it takes is just really yummy and nurturing for our brains and our creativity. So one of the things that prompted this is recently, in the last few months, I have read so many books that have made me stop and stare at a wall and think about the themes, the people, the places, the jaw-dropping occurrences. And I'll just share really quickly here 3 of those books that I come to mind right away are, number 1, Yesteryear, which is all the rage right now. And I kind of shy away from, big releases in the way of, oh my God, this is going to be huge. But I started reading Yesteryear in a bookstore and I was like, I have to read this. Oh my gosh. It is so incredibly layered, and it made me want to talk about it and think about it with others. Another book that did this for me is a short, slim book called The Hour of the Wolf by Fatima Bouta. I read almost over half of this book on a short flight from Melbourne to New Zealand, which, by the way, I'm in my new home in New Zealand and my new temporary home. But I had to slow myself down so that I could really absorb everything in this book. I was just in love with it. And the third book from this year is Strangers by Belle Burden, which just gave me a lot of feelings, and I wasn't really sure how I felt the way that the author intended, if the author had an intention for how we should feel, which maybe I'm just kind of putting that onto her. But these 3 books really made me think, I want to spend more time with these stories instead of just closing the book and being like, that's done. So those spurred me into this thought of journaling. And I was writing my journal about them. And then I thought, what a great idea to create a journal practice for the Saturday reading room, because the whole thought process behind the Saturday reading room is to really slow down, slow reading practice, consistent, to take a break from our chaotic world, but also to nurture our creative health. And this can only augment it. So I actually am using just a journal that I was given from a friend over the holidays. And I write in a journal every single day. I have a practice of writing every morning after exercise or a walk. I always spend time in my journal, and I've just added this practice into my regular journal, but you could also get a dedicated journal. And I really recommend handwriting the prompts each time, and then handwriting your answers, because there is data that shows that writing by hand, I want to read this correctly, that writing by hand leads to widespread brain connectivity, new neural pathways, and it lights up your brain like a fireworks show. And this data comes from a 20-year study done by a Norwegian neuroscientist named Audrey Vandermeer, and I'll link to that below. But it made me so excited because I love to write by hand. Actually, a lot of the writing I do for work, I write it out by hand before I type it out, or at least I handwrite the outlines. So learning that's also lending to my cognitive health was very exciting. All right, so let's get into the prompts. I'm going to share them verbally, but there'll also be a slide at the end that has them so you can copy them down. So I'm going to actually read to you from my own practice with this prompt from our current book, Braiding Sweetgrass, which is the book that we're reading in the Saturday reading room for the next 3 weeks for the month. And yeah, so here we go. So prompt number 1, what was a standout sentence or passage during your read? So I'm going to read this to you from the chapter, A Mother's Work. When I left Kentucky to go house hunting in upstate New York, my 2 small daughters gave me an explicit wish list for our new home. Trees big enough for tree forts, 1 apiece, a stone walk lined with pansies like the one in Larkin's favorite book, a red barn, a pond to swim in, a purple bedroom. The last request gave me some comfort. Their dad had just pulled up stakes, left the country, and us. He said that he no longer wanted a life with so much responsibility, so the responsibility was all mine. I was grateful that, if nothing else, I could at least paint a bedroom purple. Prompt number 2. What did the passage make you think about? So this passage, this is what I wrote. It made me think about the imaginations of children. And while one part of our lives can be changing dramatically and maybe with fear around it, they could dream something magical. And this sounded magical, the list they put together for their new home. Tree forts, ponds, barns. Children's resilience is something really amazing and special. Prompt number 3, if you had to choose a one-word feeling or short sentence on how the reading impacted you, what would it be? My word was longing. Prompt number 4, what ideas were sparked by this week's reading? So this chapter, A Mother's Work, it's largely about Robin, the author's work at mothering back to life a pond on the property. A pond that seemed lost to algae and weeds. And there was a day that she saw a gosling get sucked under the algae and then pop out. Nothing bad happened to the gosling, but the gosling proceeded to walk on top of the pond. And in the chapter, she writes, you should not be able to walk on a pond. It should be an invitation to wildlife, not a snare. And that sentence really stood out to me. It just really made me feel something. I absolutely loved it. And she felt, as the chapter goes on, as an ecologist, she felt uniquely qualified to make a difference to the pond. And it made me think about how I can use my own skills and enthusiasm and vision and imagination to improve things for others or nature, make something thrive. Like, what can I make thrive? I don't know, it really stirred up a lot of things for me. And then number 5, the last of the prompts is, who would you like to share this text with and why? So of course, for me, I was super excited to share it with you here all on YouTube, but also with my son, because we both love nature, we both love reading, and we both love how reading can make us feel different things or spark things into imagination. So yeah, so those are the 5 prompts. So that is how you can start, how and why to start a journaling practice to complement your reading. And as I said, I'm going to post the journal prompts here at the end. And please do let me know in the comments, have you already started a journal practice? Are you going to try this? If you've done it, come back and share how it went for you. I would love to hear. So please drop into the comments below your thoughts. And yeah, let me know how you go. So thanks for tuning in, and be sure to tune in Saturday to the Saturday Reading Room. If you haven't visited us yet, I'm going to put a link to it below. And yeah, until next time, bye for now.